Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Vijata Nishachara Ramaya Tasmai Namaha Raman Nasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmiyaham Rame Chittalayas Sada Bhutame Bho Rama Mamuddhara Rama Rameti Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Rama Nama Varanane Shri Rama Nama Varanana On Nama Iti Ayun Rilrak Ayong Ayauch Hayavarat Lan Yamaganam Jabai Garadash Jabagaradash Kapha Chata Tha Chata Tav Kapai Shashasar Hal Iti Mahashra Sutrani. Happy Ekadashi. Today is the Vijaya Ekadashi. So Vyakaranapi Vijaya Syat. If you do Ekadashi today, as I mentioned, the Padma Puranam has the Mahatmya of every Ekadashi. There is a Katha. I think also the Bhavishya Puranam also has slightly different Kathas, but every Ekadashi has one chapter, and you can read in the Padma Puranam. Actually, this Puranam, Sanskritam is not that difficult. Same level as Gita, Ramayana, Mahabharatam. So it's also a good way to practice some of your Sanskritam. Okay, so let's jump into the homework. I think last time we were looking at this number 3, where he's taken the Pratyaya Trich. Pratyaya Trich is, to refresh your memory, let's go to Ashtadhyayi. And that comes in the 3.1 when the Kritya Pratyayas end. So from 3.190 starts the Kruda thing. And that's from where all these Krit Pratyayas start, which we call in English as participles. So they all start from 3.193 and go to up to the Lasya Adhikara up to 3.477. So up to there are all the Krit Pratyayas. The Krit itself is a Krit. So this is the Purva Acharya Paddhati, where they use the common dhatu, mainly Kru or maybe As sometimes, and they make a name out of that. So what is the form of that dhatu? That becomes a class, a generic name for that class. So Krud itself is a Krit. So Kruda things start from 3.193. And now, as I mentioned to you before, 3.467 is Kartari Krit. Kartari Krit. So all Krit Pratyayas are in the active sense by default, the sense of the agent. Always keep in mind in what meaning is the Pratyaya coming. Just because you get the form, Kartru or Netru or whatever it might be, we should know what means. Sometimes it's obvious because we know from the usage. We know the word Neta is a leader, so that we already know. But you should always ask, what meaning is the Pratyaya coming? So Kartari Krit is default. But that has big sections which are taken away from that because of specific mentions. And the one which immediately starting after the thing, the first set of pratyaya which Pani talks about is called Kritya Pratyas. Kritya Pratyaya. This is also the same thing. These are called potential participles, Krityaha. So let me maintain our document. So it's Krityaha Parang Nulaha. This 3.195 up to the Nul Pratyaya. Also, as I mentioned to you before, is Pani does not mention any numbers, does not mention any adhyayas, does not mention any padas. He only makes mention of specific words or letters that are coming in the Ashtadhyayi. So it's possible that these adhyayas and all that came later after Panini. So take this as an example here. Krityaha Prang Nulaha. So Prang is this Panini way of saying up to that word Nul. What we are dealing with here is the Kritya Pratyaya. This is an Adhikara Sutram. What is Adhikara Sutram? It doesn't do any operation on its own, doesn't assign any sanya, doesn't do anything. It only sets the topic for what is to come. That's all it does, as opposed to Anuvritti. Anuvritti means Sutram does something, but from that something can go down to following sutras, but that's not Adhikara Sutram. This is Adhikara Sutram. So Krityaha Prang Nulaha. So from 3.195 up to the Nul, they will be the Kritra Pratyayas, which is the potential participle. That Nul comes in 3.1.133. So let me put this in the document. So 3.195, put it here itself. from 3195, we make English numbers, 3195 to I think 31132, I think there was. There we have all the Kritya Pratyayas. And those are not in the active sense. Why not? Because there's a Krityaha. By the way, in this book, I think we've already done the Kritya Pratyaya. So for those of you who are joining new, we'll have to review them at some time. But so the Krityaha, the Kritya Pratyayaha, this is the Adhikara which goes down here. So Pratyayaha. Okay, now why aren't these also in the active sense? Because we saw 3.4.67 was saying Kartari Krit. There must be something which is stopping that, which is overruling that for this Kritya Pratyaya. So we had, they would make, that was Kartari Krit. I'm sorry. So we have Kartari Krit. But then, this is just an example for you that we have some important sutras below that 3.4.67. And they are, I know I keep harping on this because you need to get a hang of these Ashtadhyayi sections. That is really the way to master this language, is to know in Ashtadhyayi where what is given. It will take some time. You'll get once you get the hang of it, it's easy to look up answers and get more details on your own. So Kartari Krit was 3.4.67. Also the usual Panini method, he gives the Utsargaha, the default rule or default statement comes first, and below that comes the Apavadas. So now below that, important Apavada is 3.4.70. Tayoreva Krityapta Kalarthaha. So these pratyas, Kritya, the pratyaya Kta, what we call as a past passive participle, PPP, a very bad name, but it's used a lot. And also the Kal Artha Pratyaya, which we have not studied as yet, but they all come in the passive only. Tayoreva means bhava karmanoho. These so bhave and karmani. So that 3.4.70 makes it with, okay, let me make Kalpesh. Oh no, he's coming as well. Kalpesh, you're there? Oh, he's there. Okay. All right. So that let me take the number again, put it down here. So 3.4.70 was what made these Kritya Pratyayas passive. So 3.4.70 overruled the 3.4.67 for the Kritya Pratyaya. So they are no longer active. So similarly for other pratyayas also we have many of these conditions. We won't go into them all in detail. We did some the last few classes. So 3.4.70 makes these Kritya Pratyaya as passive. Trying to maintain this document very meticulously. I think many people listen to the recording only of the class, so hopefully they can follow. Makes them passive. Okay. Okay, but right after that comes what we need right now, and that is the Nul Trichau. Nul Trichau. We saw it last time. We'll see it again. So the Krityas ended, as we saw, Prang Nulaha. So Nul ended in 3.1. Nul started from 3.1.133. So Nul Trichau is what we want right now, this 3.1.133. And for those two pratyayas, the Kartari Krit is going to hold. We're not going to have any apavadas for that. So Nul and Trich, they are samanya pratyayaha. So samanyena. So vidhiyete. Why do I say samanyena? Because sarvebhya dhatubhyaha sambhavataha. So all dhatu. Pani did not say after this dhatu, that dhatu, and this and that. He just said these pratyayas can be used in the, so they're very, very common pratyayas. And we all know from our local languages, word like karta, bhokta, vakta, neta, very common words. So this pratyaya trich is coming. Okay, so let's now, so that's the background for you. So 3.1.130. This is the Krit pratyaya. Now why is it important to be a Krit pratyaya? For a couple of reasons. Firstly is that the Krit pratyayas, they will form a pratipadikam, which will be now declined like an adjective or a noun. So these will be adjectives. Why are they adjectives? What is an adjective? Adjective generally means that, ekasmin eva arthe, that same meaning, right? Trishu lingeshu vartate. So, when this in the same meaning, if a word can go in all three genders, because sometimes a word can go in different meanings. We don't want that. In the same meaning. So you can have a word like hantr is a killer. So you can have hanta in the masculine, declined. It'll become hantri in the feminine. It stays as hantr in the neuter. So that's an adjective. So these are adjectives. How do we know when something is adjective? Otherwise, Panini will say, or the Linganushasana will say that this word can only go in this gender only, in this meaning. Then it's restricted, like striyam, tin, and all which we saw. Those are restricted. Okay, so this is an adjective. Now, what makes this a pratipadikam? That comes in the first adhyaya. I'm repeating a lot of this so we can get, because before the classes were not recorded, so a lot of this stuff has been done for the old students. So they have to excuse me for repeating a lot. But there is the sutram which makes this into pratipadikam. Because krut tadhita samasascha. Krut tadhita samasascha. So any krudantas, any tadhitantas, and all compounds, they become pratipadikam, and that's in 1-246. Krut tadhita, otherwise we cannot decline anything unless you get the pratipadika sanya, and that is coming in 1-246. Krut tadhita samasascha. Let's go there for a second. Krut tadhita samasascha. So here it comes, krut tadhita samasascha. So this 1-246. That means, so all kudantas, they become pratipadikams. So you have to be, so interestingly enough, all these ganavikarna like shap, etc., they come before the krutadikara. So they do not create pratipadikams. When you become a form like bhavati, that bhavati, when you add the shap in between, bhu plus shap plus tip, that shap is not a krut pratyaya. It will not create a pratipadikam. See, so also because it's krud ating. So tingantas are not pratipadikam. So they don't have to be declined. They're not declined. So 1-246 we get the pratipadika sanya. So for the trich, maybe I'll put this trich down here now. So take this and put it down here. But after the class, I do look at this document, edit it one more time in case any typos. If you find any typos in this document, just email me, and we will, edit and reload the document so people, can look at it. Okay, so 1-246 makes kudantas, they become kudantanam pratipadika sanya. So that's, we need that. So why do we need that also? I'll show you in 1 second. So kudantanam, I'm sorry. Kudantanam pratipadika sanya. Pratipadika. So pratipadika is a technical Paninian term. What he calls sanya is the name. See, any sanya which Panini gives, he uses that sanya. So every sanya has a prayojanam. So one of the prayojanam of this sanya is that in beginning of, in the 4th adhyaya of Ashtadhyayi, Panini says, ni a pratipadikat. So ni a pratipadikat. So all the declension endings, all the feminine affixes, and also tadhitas, secondary nouns, adjectives, they can only come from pratipadik. They can be only applied to the pratipadikams. So that's why we decline these kudantas. Okay, so now otherwise one more to remind you is that this pratyaya trich is also gets a ardhadhatuka sanya, ardhadhatuka, and it's right here because of ting shit sarvadhatukam ardhadhatukam sheshaha. So 34114. Also something to keep in mind is when you add any pratyaya following a dhatu iti vihitasya, then you have to first check, is this pratyaya, is it a sarvadhatuka? Is it a ardhadhatuka? It has to be one of the two. Why does it have to be? Because this 114 says ardhadhatukam sheshaha. So whatever is not sarvadhatukam is ardhadhatukam. It has to be coming after dhatu, but not otherwise. dhatu iti vihitasya. So for example, these pratyas down below, which are taditas, they are neither sarvadhatuka nor ardhadhatuka, because now they're not prescribed after a dhatu, that's why. So for 34114, we're going to use that now. We're going to get the ardhadhatuka sanya, 3-4, because ting shit sarvadhatukam. The pratyaya trich is not in the ting pratyahara. It's not, doesn't have talavyaksha as a marker. It's going to be ardhadhatuka. So it's going to get ardhadhatuka sanya. So this prepares the background, and we can, because deriving the form is going to be easy, but we need to know these details. So ardhadhatuka sanya. I think my typing is getting better, I hope. Okay, ardhadhatuka sanya. Why do we need that? Because there are two important rules which we're going to do the guna operations coming in 7.3, and those require the pratyaya to be either sarvadhatuka or ardhadhatuka. If it is sarvadhatuka, there will be more complication which we don't worry about right now, because we don't have the pratyaya as sarvadhatuka. So what numbers are those? So that this one leads to 7, 3, 84 and 86. 84 and 86. And what does the sutra say? This one says sarvadhatuka ardhadhatuka yoho. So if you have any ajanta anga and the following pratyaya is either sarvadhatuka or ardhadhatuka, it will do the guna of that ending ach. And 86 says that puganta lagu upadhasya cha. All these sutras, please repeat them. Please repeat them as many times as you can. It's the best way. As I told you, my teacher used to wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning to recite Ashtadhyayi, because he had a very good grasp on exactly what is where. And that is one of the best ways to learn Vyakaranam, is to make as many sutras as you can, make them your own. And these are going to come 1,000 times, thousands of times. So these you will know. I think all the old students already know these, but I'm putting them down anyway one more time. So and this one says that any lagu upadha means penultimate letter, which is lagu. It has to be rasva and no sanyoga following. Then that will also take guna. So when you combine these two rules, it means that the ending vowel and also penultimate vowel, which is lagu, that will take guna. So we're going to have to use that. So let me go there for once just to show you where these are. So 7, 3, 84, 86, 7, 3, 84, 86. So this is how Ashtadhyayi is so useful to find good sections. You can also use Siddhanta Kaumudi to find good. Sometimes it's easier to go to Ashtadhyayi, sometimes better to go to Siddhanta Kaumudi. These are the two texts of Vyakaranam. This is Pradhana Grantha. These are the two. Because one is Prakriya-wise, and one is kind of, operation-wise, which gives you, all the gunas will come in one section, all the idagamas will come in one place, all samprasaranam will come in one place. If you want to look up Rama Shabda or Bhudhatu, you go to Siddhanta Kaumudi. But so here we have 7, 3, 84, 86, and these are we going to use now. So 84 is required when you have a ending ach. 86 is when you have a penultimate lagu ach. Both will be used a lot, very, very common rules. So now let's start with the first example, this background. And the first example, I've expanded this page so if you can see better. Maybe we can expand a little bit more, maybe. Okay. I think now we can see it. Okay. It says abhi, ni plus trich. Why is he using these dhatus? Because I think he has given the vocabulary on top. So abhi, ni, that one, the meaning of that is to lead, to act, lead towards, to act, to represent. So that also means like to imitate somebody or to play act. Abhinayanam is to, so those also, so acting is a good meaning, is abhinayanam. So he's giving us some vocabulary in this lesson. Otherwise, the abhi will not cause any difference in getting this form. It will not make any difference. But it's good to get these pratyas, the upasargas knowledge. Upasargas, Panini doesn't give any meanings. So you have to look at the language. And there is a very excellent set of books called Upasarga Chandrika. Upasarga Chandrika. It's a very scholarly book, which has been about, I think, small set of books, 5 or 6 volumes, where he goes through all important dhatus with all the important pratyayas, upasargas, and he gives a lot of examples, not only from classical, also Vedic examples he gives. This Charudeva Shastri, one great scholar, Upasarga Chandrika. Chandrika. Okay. So if anybody wants to look at these, you have a handy reference for Upasarga Dhatu combinations, how they will change the meaning of the dhatu. It's a very good reference to. Of course, you can also go to Apte's dictionary. There also he will give. Let's look at this one for a second. If you look at dhatu abhini, you can also look at over there. That will also give abhini. So let's see, because Apte also gives the more common dhatus with the upasargas. So to put it abhini, it'll give some good meanings. So we're starting with. Let's see. This is a wonderful dictionary, which is thanks to University of Chicago. They have so abhini is here. This is the most amazing thing that I find. This book was published in Pune in 1960 something, with the help of so many good scholars who gave their time and everything for probably nothing. Not nothing in the sense of money, but of course it became a fantastic dictionary. It went out of print soon after. Then he went to Japan. So Japan now has the copyrights for the dictionary. And then the University of Chicago pushed it online. so now the printed edition is from Japan, and the online is from University of Chicago. And this is originally written in Pune. It's amazing. But anyway, so abhini is to bring near, to lead towards, to act, to represent, to exhibit dramatically. It's also to exhibit dramatically. It's also good meaning. To play act, to gesticulate. So these are also the meanings of abhini. And one more just pointer for you is in this Apte dictionary, or any dictionary as in general, particularly in the Apte dictionary, how do you know which is the common meaning? He might give like 7, 8, 9, 10 meanings sometimes. How do you know? That which he gives the quotations for, that's really the common meaning. See, he gives from the, I think Tirata-Arjuniya is given from the Mahabharata. So he's given 3 quotations for the first meaning. Of course, he'll put the first meaning on top, but sometimes he might put the straightforward grammatical meaning on top. That may not be the most common meaning in usage. It may not be. It might be the straightforward meaning you get from grammar will be on top. So don't depend on the number 1 item. In this case, it works out, but don't depend on number 1 item being the most common usage item. It may not be. I mean, most of the time it will be the same, but not always. And number 2 also, he gives 2 quotations. 2, 3 quotations. He gives some Shakuntalam, he gives some 2 more places he gives. So that also is the number 3 and 4, he's going to give no quotations. So that probably is not a very common meaning of this one. So just when you use Apte dictionary, you can tell which is the more common usage. Okay, so now so after doing all of that, so abhi is a separate upasarga. It doesn't have any bearing because it's called bahirangam, because it's a pruthak padam. So that is an external operation. So it has to wait until all these internal operations are done. So when you do ni plus trich, all this prakriya has to be done. Then only you can use the and look at the abhi. So in the trich, what are the it letters? Its halantyam is the only it. So the ch is an it. It doesn't have any effect for us. It has a couple of implications. One is, of course, for the Vedics for us, which we're not studying in this class. But the second thing is also a pratyaya called trin, which gives the same forms as this one. The pratyaya called trin also gives the same forms, but it has some other implication, which is it is supposed to be in the sense of forming a habit. And that also, when you use a trin pratyaya, you get a dvitiya vibhakti with the object. When you use this pratyaya, you get a shashti vibhakti. You say, for example, Bhagavan Jagataha Karta. Lord is the maker of the world. So Jagataha, Vishwasya Karta, shashti vibhakti. But when trin is used, you will have to use a dvitiya vibhakti. So that's one important we can tell. Pratyaya is a trich or a trin. Trich is much more common. It is, let me give you a sutram for that also. So technically we could have been used, so it says 32135 could also be used here. You'll give the same form. You will not be able to tell from the form whether trich is being used or trin is being used. Now one of the reasons for adding these it letters also is to be able to group them together. Okay, so sometime when Pani wants to refer to tru in general, he wants to include both of them. So then the trich and trin will both come along. Okay, let me look at this one. What is the number I just gave you? Okay, the trich pratyaya is, trin is 32135. So here it is 32135 is trin pratyaya. So it comes in these three meanings: tachila, tadharma, tasadhukarishu. That is his nature, that is his dharma, and he's good at that. So only if we have these extra meanings, then only trin can be used. And that trin also going to be kartarikrit, same thing. It's going to create an agent noun, but he has to have these characteristics. One of these. Either that's his nature, or that's his duty, or he's good at doing that. Then you can use trin pratyaya. So how come then we have two different vibhaktis for the karma when we have, because very briefly I'll mention that to you. Because as a default we should have the karmani dvitiya, which is 232. That means that any object, any karma will take a dvitiya vibhakti as a default. So 232 karmani dvitiya. But that has one major exception when it comes to the krit pratyaya, and that is 2365, which is what I want to keep in mind. 2365 says that karti karmanoho kriti. Karti karmanoho kriti. So if your krit pratyaya is being used, then not only the karma, but the karta also, they will go into shashti vibhakti. You can, for example, you can say that Krishnasya krida. So Krishnasya, you can say hasanam, so the lap of Krishna. So hasanam, that ana is krit pratyaya. Krishna is the karta of that. So but he goes in shashti, not in anything else. Now the karma also, which I just give an example, Vishwasya karta, Bhagavan. Vishwasya goes in shashti. But that 2365 has a further counter exception, and that is 2369. Na lokamyaya nishtha kalartatranam. So these, Pani says na, but don't use shashti for these pratyayas, and they are very common. Very common. Why are they very common? First is la. So any lakara adeshas when you have, like the present participles, like pashyan, shrunvan. So vanam pashyan gacchati ramaha. So vanam pashyan. We didn't say vanasya pashyan, we said vanam pashyan. Because this 2369 stops 2365 for these specific pratyayas. And then you go back to karmani dvitiya. And any avyayas, so you can say aham snanam kartum ichhami. So snanam, you didn't say snanasya kartum, because any avyayas also the karma will go back to the dvitiya, not shashti. And then the nishtha also is there. Nishtha is there. So when you say aham karyam kritavan, I did this job, kritavan karyam, not karyasya kritavan. Also the pratyaya trin is there. Trin. Actually trin is actually pratyaya is being used, but let's not go into too many details. But that also will take dvitiya. So trich and trin will give the same form for us. We're not doing karakal right now in detail, but that's the way you can tell if something is the krit, trich or trin. Otherwise, here one more thing to check is that when you add in pratyaya, which is ardha dhatuka, which is valadi. What is valadi? Val is simply hal minus ya is val. In the Maheshwara Sutrani, I think it's so val. The val pratyahara is equal to the hal pratyahara minus the letter ya. So you have hayavarat. So hayavarat. Below again comes hal at the very end. So val is hal minus ya. So when you have any non-yakara consonant at the beginning of a pratyaya, which is ardha dhatuka, sometimes sarvadhatuka also. Then, but mostly ardhadhatuka. Then you can get an idagama if the dhatu allows it. In the next lesson, if you look at the next lesson, we're going to see in great detail which dhatus allow idagamas, which don't allow idagamas. In the dhatu part, this dhatu swara has an intonation on that. It can be udatta, anudatta, swarita. And that's Panini's way of telling you whether the dhatu is a set dhatu, an anit dhatu, or a weight dhatu. We see indeed in the next lessons, we have to check whether ni is a set dhatu or not. As it turns out, in ajanta dhatus, only few are set. And they are those ending in long u, long r, and a few more, about like, I think just a handful more. And ni is not in that list. So this ni is an anit dhatu. It will not allow an idagama. Even the trush could have taken idagama, it will not allow because ni is an anit dhatu. So no idagama, but we have to always check for these two things. Is there going to be an idagama? Is there going to be any guna or vriddhi? So we're going to apply now. Only sutta we have to apply is this 7384 sarvadhataka ardhadhataka yoho. Because as we mentioned already, tuch pratyaya is a pratyaya which is ardhadhataka. It will cause the guna, and so we're going to get the form. We're going to copy and paste this down. We'll get the form abhinetra. So we remove the it sanya by halantyam. And I'm not going to put all I think most of you know by this time the it sanya sutras which are coming in the beginning of 1.3. So halantyam will be coming there. We will put the number down here. So halantyam will come, I think it will be 133 or so will be halantyam. Halantyam will be 133. So we got the it letter out of there, and we got the guna by 7386. So 133 and 7386. We got the halantyam and so we got the form abhinetru. Now this is going to be an adjective, abhinetru.
Satish, 7384.
I'm sorry, yes, thank you, Ven. Oh yes, thank you. Please correct, because 86 only does the guna of the penultimate vowel. Thank you. So pramada duktam maya. Pramada duktam. Made a mistake. Yeah, 7384. Thank you. So that is sarvadhataka ardhataka yoho. Okay, so that we got from. So this is an adjective. Now, a couple of things quickly. So the homework only this much. Abhinetru is the form. Now, if you want to form the feminine out of this, you will have to go to a section in the striyam adhikaraha, which is and nothing can be used in the feminine unless it passes through this routine. The routine starting from 413, it says striyam. So no word can be used in the feminine, adjective or noun, until you check this. 413, striyam adhikara, striyam. So every word which is to be used in the feminine has to pass this set of sutras. There are about 75, 80 of them over there. And then only it can be used in the feminine. This is striyam adhikaraha. And there the first couple of ones are very important, first 2 or 3. But the one that we need right now is ridnebhyo neep. So 415, ridnebhyo neep. So ridantebhyaha. So those pratipadikams which end in r, which is what we have right now. And also nakarantebhya. These two should be ending in either na or in the letter r. Then you take the neep pratyaya. In neep, of course, you have the lashakvata dite and halantyam. So only the e remains. So we'll get the form in the feminine. You will get the form. Let me see. In feminine. Okay, what number was that? I think it was the 415. So 415 will have to be used. 415 will have to be used, and we will get the form ne tr plus e. Of course, you do then the yan sandhi iko yanachi. You won't put the number for that. It become Anyway, Equanachi is 6177. 6177 become Netri. I'm sorry, Netri. So this is how it will become in there, and this will decline like Nadi. So Netri, Netryav, Netryaha, Netrim, and so on. It will decline like Nadi. So this is only Equanachi, which I think you all know, 6177. Now how about the masculine? The masculine, what will happen, it will become like, Abhi Neta, Netarao, Netaraha, and so on and so forth. So I'll quickly use the numbers here. We won't go through details because he's not asking for declension right now. But if you want to look at now for this thing, the best way to find the answer is to go to Siddhanta Kaumudi. For Siddhanta Kaumudi, just to give you a quick review of how he orders the prakriya, the derivations of all these nominal declensions, is that he takes Ajanta Shabdas first. Who is he? He means Bhattuji Dikshita, one of the greatest grammarians of our time, probably the greatest that we know for sure is he changed the whole landscape of grammar by composing Siddhanta Kaumudi. Not only Siddhanta Kaumudi, many other books also, but the main one is Siddhanta Kaumudi. So there, what Bhattuji does is that he takes the Ajanta, so vowel ending Pratipadikams. Within that, he does Bhattuji gives the first Pullinga, then Strilinga, then Pumsakalinga. And then he takes the Halanta. So Halanta Prakriya, and there he gives all the consonant ending ones. So if you want to look for this one, you would have to go and look at the R, and then within that he follows the order of the Maheshwar Sutrani. If you want to look at Adanta Pullinga Shabda will come first, Rama Shabda will come first. Why is that? Because he's going to take first the Ajantas, vowel endings. Within that, first the masculine. And within that, first the E and Riluk. So E and Adanta. So Rama Shabda will come first. So next will come the Ikaranta. Dirgha, Rasva, both will get Rasva, Dirgha. Rasva will come for Dirgha afterwards. Then Ukaranta. Then Rukaranta. So if you want to look at Siddhanta Kaumudi, you will get all these sutras for this form. If you just go to the Ajanta Pullinga Prakaranam, it's only a few pages. And you look and go order by order. So you will get all the rules over there in Siddhanta. So this is how Siddhanta Kaumudi is very useful to find all the rules quickly. And not because in Ashtadhyayi they are scattered in different places. But here, Bhattuji will pick them out from these various places and get them in one place for you. In Halantam also he follows the Mahasutrani order. So Haya, Varat, Lan. So Hakaranta he'll take first, then Yakaranta, Vakaranta, and so on. He'll go all the way. This is called a Shadlingi. Shadlingi, because three lingas and you have the Ajanta and the Halanta, so Shadlingi. So totally he has 6 sections. So masculine vowel ending, feminine vowel ending, neutral vowel ending, and then masculine consonant ending and so on. And it's a small part of the book. This needs to be mastered first because other things can be large sections, many rules. This is a small part, and also there are not many exceptions. It is followed very well in literature, so that you don't have to scratch your head too much. Everything is mostly black and white over here. So in Subanta land, things are mostly black and white. It's like mathematics. So you can go just step by step and do it. Okay, so that's why we'll have to find the answer for all this. Now I think that on the links that we have, I hope all of you are using this page by Kalpesh ji, which has given all the links over here that we're going to modify this page, make it more also user friendly, and add more links over here. So this should be your home page now. You can actually take my name out of this, but it can be, you can all have many of the links, and if you have your favorite links, please send us email. We'll add them to this page. This has, the registration for the classes. It has some software. Thank you to Kalpesh ji, has done a great job. And there, you also have the SkyDrive of Ajit ji's SkyDrive. This SkyDrive has a lot of resources if you want to download number of documents. And within that, he has the Siddhanta Kaumudi here under Vyakaranam. Some of them might be a little bit advanced for you, but he does have Siddhanta Kaumudi here. This is an excellent book that he has Again, unbelievable because they have to take this book from the library at Harvard University. This was published in Bombay, way back maybe 100 years ago. And now we have to go to the Harvard Library to get a copy of that. But anyway, there is Tattva Bodhini Purva. This is a fantastic book which is here. You can download that and it will give you the Siddhanta Kaumudi. It's only in Sanskritam, not in English, but some of the parts will be easy for you. Not only that, he has also, I think, put the Bhaimi Vyakhya. If you know some Hindi, you can look at that also, and I think he's put volume 1 and 5 there so far. So you can download that. See, Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi is, he has put volume 1, I think 5 over there. Volume 1 and 5 so far he's got from the Bhaimi Vyakhya. So that if you know Hindi, you can look at that. Okay, so you can use the resources. They're all on the Kalpeshji's website. So hopefully you'll use that. Now, but for us in the class, actually I have Siddhanta Kaumudi here, Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi. If you want me to quickly look at it and tell you, just as an example for you, how you can find these answers. When I open the book, also a nice Gita Press book. This is the only Gita Press Vyakaranam book that I know. So they have published only one Vyakaranam book, Gita Press, and this is the one, Laghu Siddhanta Kaumudi, because it's the most common one, which is like the 70-30 rules. So you can get 70% of the language with 30% of the rules. So there, I'm just opening my pages, and if you go to the, after Sandhis are finished, he starts with Ajant Pullinga Prakaranam. And so first he'll do the, the Adanta, then he'll do the Adantas, then he'll do the Ikarantas, then he'll do the long Iantas, and then he will do the Ukarantas, and then somewhere there he will start the okay, He Dhataha, so Dhataha, so he gives the now one problem over here is that he won't repeat any rules. So unfortunately, even if you may open up this Siddhanta Kaumudi, he will not repeat. Sometimes he will repeat, but most of the time he will not repeat. So whatever has come earlier, he will not repeat. So that becomes a bit of a problem for us. But if you look at Bhaimi Vyakhya, he's very kind. He'll give in great detail. So you have to go a little bit deeper than the original text to get repeated sutras. So he will give that also. Okay, let me point out to you the rules. I think one of them which we need is going to be, there are I think 3 rules that we need, that to the best of my knowledge. Let's look at one. One is only for the Prathama Ekavachanam, Saupare, Rudushanas. So I think that comes in 7. See, this is the hard part in Ashtadhyayi. This is scattered in 3 different sections. And one you need only for the Prathama Ekavachanam, and then you need others for the Sarvanamastani Pare and the Saptami Vibhakti, and then you also need one for also Sarvanamastani Pare. So let's look at this one. Okay, Rid Ushanas is one sutram when it says okay, so 7-1, I know it comes in 7-1 somewhere.
94.
Thank you, Kalpi. 7-9. So Anang Sau. So what it does is that it takes this Rukaranta Pradipati, like we have the word Abhinetru right now. So it's going to make it into an Anta Shabda, Anta, ending in An. It's Anang, only Saupare. Saupare. So, and it's also going to become Asambuddhav Saupare. So only in the Prathama Ekavachanam, which is not in the vocative also. Not in the vocative. So it's going to become like a Rajan Shabda after that in the masculine. So become, then not going through all the details, but you will get, so we use 7194. You become like a Rajan Shabda, and you become the Abhineta. So I'll just put the number here. You will have to fill in some details, but this is enough for you to get started. So 7194 you have to use to get the form. The Pradipadikam, so we have the word Netru. That will become, that will plus Su when you have, which is the Prathama Ekavachanam. That will get converted to Netru, I'm sorry. I'm going to improve my typing skills. Okay, Netru. Okay, now that will become into Netan. The Ru will become Un, Netan, and plus Su. And now it's like a Rama Shabda. You can then do the Upada Dhiga become Neta and Su, and then the Su will drop by, maybe let's put these numbers down here for you. I think it's 6168. You will drop the, first remove the it letter, Upadesh Ajana Nasika it, then Halni Abhyo Suti Siya Pruktam Hal. The Sa will drop. Simple 6168 says if you have a consonant ending Pradipadikam, then the Sakara of the Su will drop. So then we have, so that Sa will drop, and in meanwhile you get the Upada Dirgha, which is going to become by 6.4. This is Anuji Sutra. Savanama Sthane Cha Sambuddhao. Savanama Sthane Cha Sambuddhao. So,
Satishji,
yes.
will we get Aptantruch here?
Good. How about that one? Can we use? Yes, Kalpeji is right actually, matter of fact. Let's go through this one. We'll come back to that, Kalpeji is correct because there's another way to do this, which is actually a better way in this case. So let me finish this one, then come back to his suggestion, which is actually correct. So 648 we could have been used to do the penultimate dirgha, and then we could have got the form neta, and ultimately you have to also use 827 to remove that ending na, nulava pradipadikāntasya. And after all that, so this 827 removes that ending na finally. That's the last one you want to use because that's in tripadi karyam. 648 would have done the upada dirgha. 6168 removes the sa. Actually, this prakriya is not completely correct because of the fact that there is a more specific rule which comes into play here. So I'll put a note here. So don't use the above, even though it will get the correct answer. Why not use the above? Because as Kalpesh said, there is a actually, you know what? I think this will work here. Okay, let's go there. Let's see what happens. Let us look at what Kalpesh is suggesting. What is Kalpesh suggesting is this one: up, trin, trich, swastru, naptru, neshtru, tvashtru, kshatru, hotru, potru, prashastru nam. This is one typo in this Ashtadhyay, which is very rare typo. It should be potru, prashastru nam. What does that say? What does 6411 say? 6411 will do the actually, yes, I think he's correct. So let's look at the vritti for that. It says, for all these words, upadaya dirgha bhavati sarvanama sthane parataha sambuddhau. So this rule applies to the specific words. With anything, the word up, and those ending in trin and trich and some others also. And it does the upada dirgha. Upada dirgha it does. When you have to it does the upada dirgha, I mean savanama sthane cha sambuddhau. Now should we use that one here, or should we use we still need to use the anang sau. We have to use that, right, Kalpesh? Kalpesh is there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Anang
so
sau we will have to use, but upada dirgha.
For upada dirgha, so what he's suggesting is that instead of this 648, we should use 6411 because 648 will only apply in the. Okay, now you will know why I'll put that. So maybe I should change this. I should say use 6411 instead of 648. Nyayavashat. Because when you come to the, let's hold that for a second. Let's look at the next place. We say netru plus the au. In that place, we will have to use 6411. So let's look at that. So when you have netru plus when you take Dvitiya Vibhakti, when you take the, Dvivachanam, excuse me. You take the dual case in the nominative when you have the netru plus au. Now in that case, what all sutras we start applying? we have to look at one more rule now, and that comes in 7.3. 7.3 is Rito ni sarvanama sthana yoho. Rito ni sarvanama sthana yoho. We'll take guna. So 7.3, I think around 100-ish. That one comes a little bit low. I'm sorry, maybe 110-ish. 110-ish. It says, yeah, 7.3, 110. Rito ni sarvanama sthana yoho. Rito ni sarvanama sthana yoho. What it's saying is that when you have a pradipadikam ending in r, short r, ritaha means short r only. And if the pratyaya following is either the ni, which is saptami ekavachanam, or sarvanama sthana. Sarvanama sthana, as we know, I think sarvanama sthana is defined as she sarvanama sthanam, sud anapumsakasya. Sud anapumsakasya. So let's look at those also for briefly. That is defined what is Sarvanama Sthana. Sarvanama Sthana is not to be confused with Sarvanama Shabdaha. Sarvanama Shabda is what you call as pronouns. Sarvanama Sthana is a subset of these Suadi Pratyayas. So that is the Pratyaya is getting the Sanya Sarvanama Sthanam, while the Pradipadikam gets the Sarvanama Shabda Sanya, which means pronouns. So she Sarvanama Sthanam is, that number is 1142, 1143. Let's look at those very quickly. So because we need to know what is Sarvanama Sthanam in order to apply these rules. So 1142, 1143 is the ones that we want to use here. Is she Sarvanama Sthanam, and then Sudanapumsakasya, 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 Sudanapumsakasya. So 1142 says that the she, which is the plural form in the neuter, that alone is Sarvanama Sthanam. But 43 comes back and says that if it's not neuter, Anupumsakasya, then Sut. Sut means the first five. Su, au, just, out. So for non-neuters, when the Pradipadikam is not a neuter, then the first 5 places, this Supratyaya gets the Sarvanama Sthana Sanya. So we want to use 1143 to get the Sarvanama Sanya. So use 1143 to apply the Sarvanama Sanya. Sarvanama Sanya for the Pratyaya au. Sarvanama Sanya for the Pratyaya au. I'm sorry. And then use that, once we have that, for the au Pratyaya. Okay. So once we have that, then we can use that 73110. Rito ni Sarvanama Sthana yoho. And we can do the guna. If you have Rudanta Pradipadikam ending in short ru, and the Pratyaya following is either the Saptami Ekvachanam ni or Sarvanama Sthana, then the Anga takes guna. And immediately preceding ach will take guna, which in this case the ru, of course. Rito ni Sarvanama Sthana yoho. Rito ni Sarvanama Sthana yoho. So 73110. So apply that one. And then what do we have? Then we get it becomes Uran Raparha also, and we get we'll get ni, plus we'll get tar and au. So we got, I'm sorry, I'm using ni all the time, it should be ne. So it was netru Pradipadikam, so it becomes ne. I don't know why I put ni. So it should be netru, and then we get ne tar au. This is after applying this. At this step we use 73110, netar plus au. Now at this stage we could not use the 648. 648 requires a Pradipadikam ending in na, because that Sarvanama Sthane cha sambuddhau, anuvritti of the nakaranta is coming down there. So we could not use 648 in this dual form. We have to use 6411. 6411 specifically lists the Pratyaya Trich and says that you do the Upada Dirgha when you have the Sarvanamasthana asambuddhau, non-vocative, Sarvanamasthana pratyaya following, then you can use you should do the upada dirgha, become netar, and become netarau. So that's why Kalpesh correctly said is that, so let's finish this form first. So 6-4-11 says aptrin trich. So trich is there. So for these, so when these pratyas are involved, then you can do the upada dirgha. So when we get netar, so we use we'll get, I'll just make this here, and we get netarau. Okay, so that completes that form, and we applied this 6-4-11. So using 6-4-11 over here, we should use the 6-4-11 uniformly in all these 5 places to make neta, netarau, netaraha, netaram, netarau. So there's no point complicating things by bringing 6-4-8 just for the singular form, and then 6-4-11 for the remaining places. It doesn't. Not only that, 6-4-11 is also a later rule. Not only that, it specifically mentioned the pratyaya trich in there. So in all respects, really, 6-4-11 should be used. I'm going to change this to make it 6-4-11. So 6-4-11. Okay. Even though 6-4 will give the right answer for the word neta, better to use 6-4-11 uniformly in those 5 places. Neta, netaro, netaraha, netaram, netarau. Okay, we won't go through all the steps for everything, but this is just to give you a flavor of how this word is declined, to give you a few rules. And in the neuter, it will remain netru only. Because when you have netru plus su in the neuter, you'll get the samo napumsakat, luksyat. So this is in the masculine that we did. So these are all in the masculine. Now I should put maybe in masculine, maybe down here. Okay, so in masculine as follows. These are adjectives. We look at all 3 genders. And in neuter, you're going to get these. We won't go through all of them, but just in the in neuter, just give you the nominative form at least. So when we have netru plus su, that entire su is going to go because of samo napumsakat, and you'll get the form netru only back. Get the form netru. This is a declined form. This comes in the Devi Mahatmyam, in the 4th Adhyaya Devi Mahatmyam. Viryancha hantru ritadeva parakramanam. The 4th Adhyaya of Devi Mahatmyam, Shakradi Stutihi, you'll see the form hantru. It's a declined form. It's a declined form. It qualifies viryam in that shloka. So it becomes hantru only. Not hanta, not hantri, it becomes hantru because it's a declined form. So here you get samo napumsakat luksyat. So in 7.1 around, I think 15.6 somewhere there. So yeah, samo napumsakat. Where is that? Samo napumsakat, samo napumsakat, samo napumsakat. Here it is, 7.123. How did I go so quickly over here? As I mentioned to you before, is that all these pratyaya adeshas, pratyaya substitutions, when you make a in place of an affix, when you make substitutions, they come in this section beginning of 7.1. That's how we got the netru form. Okay, so this is just a flavor of declension. I know this is not part of the homework, repetition for many of you, but for the new people, it'll be good to get some flavor. Let's move on. Let's take the next example, and we have the form gum plus trich. But one quick question is that, in this case, we did not do the guna of netru. Why did we not apply 6-4-11? We happily applied it here to, the 7-3-10 itself. We applied it here to do the guna between netar, because it's sarvanama sthane, ritoni sarvanama, because this is not sarvanama sthanam. So for 2 reasons. Firstly, this su is not sarvanama sthanam, because we saw in the 1.142 says she sarvanama sthanam. The next rule, 1.143, said sud anapumsakasya. So sud anapumsakasya. So only in feminine and masculine, the first 5 become sarvanama sthanam. Su, au, jas, out. In the neuter, only the plurals, the she and she, the nominative plural and the accusative plural. Only those two are Sarvanamasthana. So Sarvanamasthana pratyaya we don't have. Secondly, when you do a look, you cannot do any anga karyam based on the pratyaya. This is the difference between lopa. When you do a lopa, you have pratyaya, lope, pratyaya, lakshanam, and that lakshanam can do the operations. So even the pratyaya might have taken lopaha, you can still do operations based on the pratyaya to the angam. But if you do a look, shlu, or lup elision, look, shlu, lup, then you cannot do any angakarya, because nalumata angasya. The important concept, nalumata angasya. So when you do when the elision is prescribed in one of these means, the look, shlu, lup, then you cannot do any angakaryam based on the pratyaya which has gone away now. Otherwise you could. If it's a simple lopaha, then you can do it. So let me give you the number for that. Nalumata angasya is important. We can see this many times, and that's 1163. So keep in mind, I just put a note over here that okay, no gunaha, no application of 73110, because first of all we don't have a Sarvanamasthana pratyaya, so 1142, and also this one nalumata angasya. Let me see the number which I gave you again. It'll be in the first adhyaya, because all these paribhasha rules and all these rules of sanya rules, they are all what we can call the ground rules of operation. They all come in the first adhyaya. So 1163 nalumata angasya. Okay, otherwise you might be wondering how come we didn't apply that guna over here also. This is the reason for that. Okay, let's take the next example. I think he says gantru. Gantru is the goer. Gantru is goer. So not all the sutra already. So we are using this number. Okay, I didn't put the number. I should put the number down here also. What we are using is we're using this 3-1. I think it's 133. The nul trichau. That's we have to first find this sutram. In the third adhyaya of the Ashtadhyaya, if you want to make any participle form, if you want to make any verbal form, you have to start with some sutram in the third adhyaya. Because why third adhyaya? Because the dhatu anuvritti ends at the end of the third adhyaya. So you have to find something there. So any verbal form, any participle form, you have to start with this third adhyaya to get some. So 31133 is what we are using. I'll put it back here itself. 31133. Okay, 133. So we won't repeat all those sutras again. Just look at the form gam plus tru, and we get removing the it letter bahalantyam. Now what this gam is anit dhatu, because manteshu, in the dhatus ending in ma, there are 4 anit dhatus: yama, nama, gama, rama. So yama, nama, gama, rama. These 4 dhatus are anit dhatus. So always check, do we have any idagama? No, we don't have this dhatu, even though the trish pratyaya is a valadi, is pratyaya which is ardha dhatuka. So 7235 says that ardha dhatuka id valadehe. So that would have demanded an idagama for this, but it is we cannot do it. But gam is anit dhatu. Gam is anit dhatu. Is an anit dhatu. Okay, so that takes care of that. And of course, there is no guna, because anyway, we are not ending in an ach, and the upada is a short a only. So therefore, the guna of a is a. So it does not make any difference. So you can apply 7386 buganta laghupatasya cha. We'll get the same form back. So there's no point doing it. It will not have any effect.
What about eco guna vriddhi?
No, eco guna vriddhi, but the yes, actually Kalpesh is a very good point. Yes. So what Kalpesh is saying is that when Panini prescribes guna in general, it's a very good point actually. Thank you. is that Iko Guna Vriddhi says, is a Paribhasha Sutram, which says that unless Panini specifically says, do guna of this letter or this group of letters, if it's Samanyena Vihitam, it just says, just do guna, then it is only guna of the ik letter. Why is it important? It's not so important here. It is important why. If you have, like, let's say, a letter A, you should not make the mistake of saying the guna of A is A. So that's the mistake which can come if you start just applying these rules mechanically and forget Iko Guna Vriddhi. Now, what is the guna of this? Because this question has come up in classes before. So let's take Kalpesh's point. Good to have Kalpesh in the class. Thank you. So the statement which I make is not, the statement which I made just now is not exactly correct. Because when applying 7386, when Panini says Puganta Lagu Putasya, now that says do the guna of the upadha, which is lagu. It doesn't say which letter, whether it should be a or e or u. Of course, it has to be a vowel because guna is only of vowels. But Iko Guna Vriddhi says that when Panini ordains a guna or vriddhi without specifying which letter to guna or vriddhi, then it has to be for the ik letter only. So ik is, ayunruk. So e, u, r, l. We have the upadha as a right now. So really that as Kalpesh pointed out, the 7386 sutram atra na praptam. You get used to what praptam by. Praptam is applicable. So 7386 is apraptam. And we'll put that word. This is a technical word which they use a lot in the commentaries. This is apraptam. It is, or I can say na praptam, because it is not applicable because of the Iko Guna Vriddhi. That's a Paribhasha Sutram. And that is important because I mentioned to you, if somebody asks you, what is the guna of long A? The temptation is to look at the Sutram Adeng Gunaha and say, okay, the closest one is the A, so guna of long A is A. That is not correct because Iko Guna Vriddhi, when Panini will never say, do guna of A. And when he doesn't specify, then comes Iko Guna Vriddhi. So there will never be a question of doing guna of A because of the sutram Iko Guna Vriddhi. The question itself is wrong. What is the guna of A? There is no situation where that is going to come into play. So the guna of A is an incorrect statement. We should be careful. Sometimes you find you might encounter this some places. So Iko Guna Vriddhi is 113, by the way, very third Sashtadhyayi. So because of Iko Guna Vriddhi. Thank you. So really I should say that this 7086 is not applicable at all to our case. So even the guna of A is A, but in our case we don't have to look at that because the 113 is you don't have an ik letter there. So that takes care of that. Now only Sandhi rules.
Satish, make it
and
praptam.
Sandhi rule is, I'm sorry?
Make it praptam.
Ah, yes, thank you, Vin. Yes,
Also, when you say Puganto Lagu Padesya, of course, they are only talking about guna of Lagu. So, not being a Lagu, there is no question of making it.
No, not in in our case, we will not have, but in other situations, or even the statement of, yes, this sutra cannot have A at all, because there is no question of it's not Lagu. But sometimes you see in the books, sometimes they mention that, guna of A is A. If I'm not mistaken, I think Antoine in book 1, I think somewhere there might be some typo where he mentions the guna of A and A is A. Now that statement is, you should be watch out for that because that will not be correct because there will never be a situation where A will have to take guna. So Panini has no situation where he will say A do guna to A because he never specifically say that. And it's not specifically mentioned, only ik will apply. Of course, and when it's correct, in our rule 7386, there's no question of A, because it's not lagu. It's not lagu.
Now, but 7384, does it say you can make guna only lagu also,
yes,
right?
Only of ik letters only. So 7384 if you have, for example, let's see if you have a dhatu ending in long a.
Yeah.
And then now there you could say, let's look at a quick example, So when you take a dhatu like ya plus trich.
Yeah.
Now there you could say, can I apply 7384 to sarva dhatuka ardha dhatuka yoho and then make the guna of a into a?
Yes.
No, because there it will not, because eko guna buddhi will stop there. So if you take the example, ya plus trich. Now, in this case, you could definitely ask the question: Can we use 7384? And the answer is no. Because of 113. And here it does make a difference. Because if you had to make a guna substitute, you would choose the short a and you get the wrong form.
Yeah.
So yes, so Wayne is right. 7386 has no application, but 7384 sometimes you may have the temptation of making guna of a into a. Okay, so we got now sandhi rules to finish our example. So we have the nascha padantasya jhali. So let's continue this form, and we're going to make the anuswara. Anuswarasya yai parasavarnaha. So we're going to make the anuswara and parasavarna. So this one we're going to take it and make it into the anuswara, make it gantru, and then make it gantru. So first make the anuswara by nascha padantasya jali, and then make it parasavarna. So I think that number I believe is 8324. I think nascha padantasya jali. And then after that, you have to make it the form gantru, because you make it into the parasavarna. Anuswarasya yai parasavarnaha. So he'll give you the number for that. That'll come in the end of Ashtadhyaya. So first you make the anuswara. So what does 8324 say? If you have a makara or a nakara, which is not padanta, followed by a letter which is jal, nascha padantasya jali. So that will make the anuswara, and then anuswarasya parasavarnaha. So 8324, and then this parasavarna comes a little bit later on. Also very interesting ordering of the sutras, because all the sutras in between you will see the anuswara only. So you make the anuswara in 8324, you make the parasavarna in the 8458. So all the rules in between will see the anuswara only. They will not be able to operate on that nakara or makara, because they will not see the nakara or makara. So between 8324, 8458, anything which comes is going to see the anuswara only, not the nakara or makara. So that's what we got. So we got the form gantru, same as before, become gantri and then become ganta in the masculine, stay as gantru in the neuter. So gantru is one who goes. One more quick reminder for you is, why did we not get, when you use gam plus tin, we get the form gati, we get the form gatam. Then why don't we get the form gatru? So what stopped the elision of the na in this? Because in those situations we were applying the, I should make a note back here, is that no, we will not be able to apply 6437 because of the fact that this trish pratyaya is not a kit or a nyat pratyaya. So 6437 required, because anudatta upadesha vanati tanotyadinam anunasika lopaha chalado kiniti chali kiniti. So let's look at, so that one does not apply here. So we will don't get the removal of the nakara. That specifically said the pratyaya should be kit or nit to follow. So 6437, this is jali kiniti. We don't have kiniti over here. The trich has no kit or nit. So we cannot do that over here. Okay, so so that's the final form. Let's look at the next rule. Next one is nrit plus trich. So everything will be the same. Won't go through all the steps. Only thing here is that we are going to get this 7386. because it is a upadha, the short ru. It is laghu, there is no sanyuga following it. So you get the guna, and it's going to become uran raparaha, become nar. But this is a set dhatu now. But in the takaranta dhatus, we don't have a mention of this dhatu. Just to read out to you in the tanteshu. There's a list of dhatu. We're going to see in the detail in the next lesson. We're going to see all this in detail of the idagama vyavastha. But there is a list which has been made right from the time of Patanjali, all the way back 2,000 years ago. This list has been made because otherwise you have to memorize the dhatu patha with the swaras, which is nearly impossible. So they have figured out a short way to. There are only about 102 dhatus or 103 dhatus which are ending in hal, ending in consonant, which are going to be anit dhatus. So those are easy to memorize, those 102, 103. Then you don't have to memorize the dhatu patha with the swaras. If you know these 102, 103 dhatu, why do you say 103? Because there's some part of Veda in that, okay? Some say 103, some 102. So anyway, so around about 100 dhatus, roughly 100 dhatus. Only those 100 odd dhatus are going to be anit dhatus ending in a consonant. So you should always keep the list in front of you, and we'll go through the next lesson in detail. And there they organize them by those ending in ta, those ending in cha, those ending in ka, and they go in the order of the vargas. So kanteshu, chanteshu, janteshu, and there actually in tanteshu they don't have any. So janteshu they give all of that. So and then tanteshu there's no dhatu ending in ta, which is anit. So all the tanta dhatus are going to be set. This is a set dhatu. So you're going to get the idagama by 7235, get the guna by 7386, uran raparaha. So I just put only give the numbers, everything else stays the same as before. Nrit means to dance. I think you all know that. Nartanam is dancing. Nrit. So Nrit plus you move the it letter by upadesh ajana nasika it, and you're going to get the form will be nartitr, nartitr, because you do the guna of the ru uran raparaha. Idagama with narti and nartitr. And what we are using here is we are using the 7386 Pugantalagu Patasya cha, using 7235 Adadhatukasya idvaladehe. So that's what we have to use. So get the form nartitr. Next one also I think is simple. Say, so there I just put the final form. There is no, because we have the upadha is A, it's not laghu. As also we have ikoguna buddhi, so it's not applicable at all. So we cannot, there's no application for 7386 here. So only it's again a set dhatu. Why set dhatu? Because it's not a part of those 100 odd dhatus which are anit. There is no, I don't see any vante issue over here. So there is no dhatu ending in va, which is anit. So we see in the next lesson in detail. So it becomes se with tr. So basically nothing applies except the 7235, and we just put the final form in the document here. Becomes se with tr. I think the purpose of this class is to make this document because right now we are only how many 15, 20 people here, but this document will stay for a long time and many people will come and look at it. So our number is very small compared to what, you know, we will look at the document afterwards. So 7235. Okay. So that completes that exercise. Save with save is to serve. Same as in English, right? Save to serve. So continuing with the homework, now he takes this what's called upapada samasa. So let's look at those for a little bit. Formed now with the suffix an, or the following. So why do I say upapada samasa? Upapada means something which needs to be close by. This case preceding. Unless this word precedes, this an cannot be applied unless you have this mala or some other karma preceding that. So this sutram is karmanyan. Karmanyan. So we have to go through, first of all, if you want to form any samasa in this language, you have to find a sutram in 2.1 or 2.2. They are small spada vashtadhyayi. And in fact, Bhimsen Shastriji has recommended strongly that we memorize these padas, which I have not done, so I shouldn't say, but you at least go to them very frequently, because there are only, I think, maybe 100 odd sutras in total between those two. So 2122, you'll become a Samasa Samrat if you can memorize these two. This 21 has what, how many sutras? 72, and 22 has, I think, only about like 30 some odd sutras, 38. So 110 sutras only. So any samasa, you have to find one among these 110 sutras to form the samasa. So samasa is going to come in detail in this book later on, so won't go in detail. But you need to look at this because this is a samasa. It's called Upapadam Ating. Upapadam Ating. One more thing I want to mention quickly is, so we let's put this 2219 in this document, Upapadam Ating. So that is a single sutram which is used to form all Upapada Samasas, only one sutram. Of course, that doesn't tell you which dhatus, what kind of Upapadas can take what kind of pratyas in what kind of meanings. All that it doesn't tell you. All that it does is it allows you to form a samasa with a qualified upapada, with the appropriate dhatu, with the appropriate pratyaya, and the samasa will be formed as a tatpurusha samasa. It's a special case of a tatpurusha samasa, upapada samasa. Now, which dhatus, with what can take what pratyas, with what upapadas, that all comes in the third adhyaya. I mentioned to you one more time, is when it's dhatoho adhikara is only in the third adhyaya. So this is like a complex thing now. You form the samasa first on the basis of 2219, then go to the third adhyaya and look for those specific upapadas and those dhatus which are authorized to form these samasas. Now this sutram is, without going into too much detail, is interesting because normally when you form a samasa, you have one sup with another sup. Sup supa anuvritti goes in 2.1, 2.2. But this is a special case. We have like this chicken and egg problem. You don't have the sub-anta ready until the samasa is formed. The samasa cannot be formed until sub-antam is ready. That is why Panini makes this upapadam ating. Upapadam ating. So what he says is that these qualified upapadas, they can go into compounds with something which is not a tinganta. As long as you're not creating a tinganta, you can use upapadas to form samasas. So that is the Panini's way of bypassing this supa. Is that's the upapadam, of course, is a subantam, but the uttarapadam is not a subantam. So you can just say samarthena shabdantarena samasyate. So upapadam samarthena. So samartha, it has to have a samarthyam. There has to be some connection, and it should shabdantarena. It should be some other form, but atingante. It should not create a tinganta. So that's the only thing. Also, let's leave it at that for the time being. So we need 2219. Now, as a practical matter, also I mentioned in the class, is most of the important rules of upapada, which upapadas come in 3.2, 321 to 32100. Now, upapada itself is defined in this sutram. It says tatra upapadam saptami stham. 3192 defines tatra upapadam saptami stham. Tatra means asmin tritiye dhatu adhikare. This last dhatu adhikara is from 3191. Anything which is saptami stham, indicated by the saptami. Implied by somebody says karmanyan. Not that word karma itself, but any object of a dhatu. So indicated by the word karma. So not just the word karman, that single word, but that's a saptami stham. It's indicated by the saptami. That gets upapada sanya. So tatropapadam saptami stham. So we use 3192 to get the upapada sanya for all these terms, which can then go into compounds based on the. So let me put 3192 over here, and we get the upapada sanya. Why did Pani not put this sutram in the first adhyaya of the Ashtadhyayi? because we have all the Sanya Sutras there, because he wants to limit this to only this section, this Tatra, means Tritiya Dhatu Adhikare. So it's very convenient for him to put it right there. So it doesn't mean that all Sanyas will be defined in the first Adhyaya only. So he puts his Sanya over here because it's a limited, it applies to a limited section of the Ashtadhyaya only, not for everything. Not everything in Saptami in Sutra will get Upapada Sanya, only in this section only. So, and then we go to this 3, so even though it starts from here, it'll go, and only technical Saptamis, like we say Vartamane Lat, doesn't mean Vartamane is Upapada Sanya. So when it doesn't have the regular Saptami meanings, then, then we have to go for the Upapada meanings, and that one is, most of them come in 3 to 1 to 3 to 100, not all of them. There are some ones outside which are important, but many of them. And for the homework right now, we need only one, which is 3 to 1. 3 to 1. Karmani An. So Karmani is in Saptami in the Sutram. In 3 to 1, the word Karmani is Saptami. Saptami Bhakti. So Saptami is Stham. So an object. So the Pratyaya An can be used after a Dhatu as long as you have an object which is Upapadam, which is the left hand side, the Purvapadam in our case. So one more time, the Pratyaya An can be used after any Dhatu in general. It has some exceptions below that. Actually, we're going to need one more sutram below that for one of the examples, but for the time being, this is the main sutram. So the An can be used after any Dhatu to form an Upapada Samasa. But that Upapada has to be the object of that Dhatu, not anything else. So let's keep that. So 3 to 1 is the sutram that we are going to use, is Karmanyan, and that's the one we need to use. Let's go to the homework, and we're not doing, we're skipping some details here. We'll come to samasas later in this book. So Malang Karoti. Now one more thing is that these two kind of samasas called Nitya Samasas and Anitya Samasas. What is that now? Nitya Samasas means that you don't have the Vakyam. So this is called as a Mahavibhasha. Means normally any samasa is optional, because you can also use the Vakyam instead of that. We say Raja Purushaha. You could say Rajnyaha Purushaha alternatively. It is not required that you have to make the samasa out of it, because you can always use the alternative sentence to convey the same meaning. When you say Mahabahu, you can say Mahanto Bahu Yasya Saha. You can make a sentence also. But there are some places where you cannot make the Swapada Vigraha Vakyam. They have to go only, the Panini uses the word Nityam. Nityam means Swapada Vigraha Vakyam na Sambhavati. And this term which we use is 2219 is coming in the Anuvrutti of Nityam. So Nityam Krida Jivikayoho. This Nityam is coming there. Kugati Pradeha Upapadam Mating. So when we make the Vigraha Vakyam for these samasas, you will have to express it in some other way, not using the word in the samasa itself. So it's a Nitya, so these Upapada samasas are Nitya samasas, and means that there will be no Swapada Vigraha. So Nitya samasa, I'm sorry, Nitya. Samasa, and that implies that Swa Pada Vigraha Vakyam. So okay, so Vigraha again Vigraha na Samavati. So it is not possible. Okay, so when you have to say, when you look at the example Malam Karoti, which is the homework, we'll have to say that is the Vigraha Vakyam. Now one more thing is that when you look at the Vigraha Vakyam and find a Tinganta Padam in that, that is the surest way to tell that you are most likely going to be looking at Upapada Samas. Otherwise you will not have a verbal form in the Vigraha Vakyam. So if you want to learn Upapada Samasas, you just look at the commentaries and the Bhashyams and Tikas and look at only those Vigraha Vakyams which have a Tinganta Padam inside that. And you can master all of these Upapada Samasas. If you don't have a Tinganta Padam, it's most likely not Upapada Samasa. So you can say Vigrahe, you can put it that in the Vigraha Vakyam, you will see the Tingantam Padam. So Tingantam Padam. So always keep that in mind. The best way to learn samasa is to read the commentaries and look at the Vigraha Vakya. And that way you'll get very used to samasas. And there if you see Tingantam Padam, then you know that you are in a Upapada Samasa. So we already have that given in the homework, Malam Karoti. Malam Karoti, if you wants to form that. So we'll take the word, so you already have the what's called a Laukika Vigraha, Alaukika Vigraha. Laukika Vigraha means that it is the Vigraha in the usual language terms, not technical, so non-technical. So Laukika Vigraha Vakyam is the non-technical, in regular language usage, non-technical. And then we have the text. So actually when I say Sapada, there should be Sapada Laukika Vigraha. Alaukika you can always do, but so Laukika Vigraha. Sapada Laukika Vigraha you cannot do. So in our case, Laukika Vigraha is given in the homework, Malam Karoti. Now, Alaukika Vigraha is a technical Vigraha, which means that it's not really a sentence in our usual term. You just put the vibhaktis there and any other information like the affix which is being used, and you form the Alaukika Vigraha. So that we'll make that now. We make the Alaukika Vigraha. Normally they'll be very easy because once you have one, in all the commentaries and the bhashyams and etc. in non-grammar books, you will only have the Laukika Vigraha. Only when you come to grammar books, you will get the Alaukika Vigraha. So you need to be able to convert from one to the other. Because you need to be able to convert from the Malam Karoti to the Alaukika Vigraha. And most of the time it is straightforward. When we say Rajnyaha Purushaha, then you have a Shashti Vibhakti there. You put Rajan plus Nyas plus Purushaha plus Su. But with these Upapada Samasas, it's not that straightforward. So Laukika Vigraha, let's put it down here. We say Malang Karoti. Already given in the book for you. Karoti. Alaukika Vigraha will look like this. It will become Mala, and it has to be a karma, so we use the pratyaya Then you have to use a dhatu kru, and then you have to, I'm sorry, again I made the same mistake. It's not but it is nyas. Satya, you pointed out to me, Satya is correct. Should not use should use the pratyaya. I'll come to it in 1 second. So kru plus an. This is the Alaukika Vigraha, the technical breakdown of the samasa. So we have Mala, so he is a maker of the Mala. So he is the maker of the garland, Now this is a little bit, you have to watch out here, because in the Vigraha Vakyam you had Malam Karoti. So mistake which I made also was to put Mala and Titya Vibhakti, but that is not correct, because of the fact that this Malam Karoti has only come because we have a Tinganta Padam here now in the Vigraha Vakyam. Here we don't have a Tinganta Padam. So let's go back to what we discussed in the class earlier today, is you have the Sutram Karmani Dvitiya. So Karmani Dvitiya, he is the maker of the garland. The Mala is a karma. So that is his ipsitama. So kartuhu ipsita tamam karma. That's what the doer wants to accomplish the most, is the karma. Of course, here we have only one possibility, is the Mala. So we should have had a Dvitiya Vibhakti after the Mala. But 2365, which is the one that I want you to learn, says Kartri Karmanoha Kriti. So if you have krut pratyaya, which is the and is a krut pratyaya, it comes in 3, 2, 1. And krut pratyaya start from 3, 1, 90, whatever, 92, 93. So this and is a krut pratyaya. So we cannot use the dvitiya, we have to use shashti bhakti. That is why the vigraha vakyam that we have put here is mala plus nyas and kru plus and. So thank you, Satya, for pointing this out to me. Most of the time what you see in the Laukika Vigraha, you can just take the same Vibhakti and put it in the Alaukika Vigraha. It's very easy, very straightforward. But these Nitya Samasas, we have to be careful, because you may not word like that. Particularly Upapada Samasa, because of the Sutram 2365, Kriti Karmano Kriti, you have to put the Shashti Bhakti here. Then how come we got this Dvitiya over here, Malam Karoti? That is because of that exception below, which I also mentioned to you, this 2369. Any lakara adeshas, so when we bring in the tiptas G and all of these, they will not, the karma of those will not go to Shashti. It will go back to Ditya. So that's why we have Malam Karoti by 2369, but Mala plus Nyas plus Kru plus An by 2365. By 2365. And if you're not following all of this, don't worry about it, because right now we are not doing in detail. But for those who are who want to go in detail, and particularly those who have been in this class for 2-3 years, this is important. So you should understand 2365. So 2365, and then once you know 2365, you can look up the exceptions below that. And the main one is 2369. 2369. That's for 2369. Okay. Now next step here is that, let's finish up, and next step is that you remove this nyas by supo dhatu pradip. This whole thing gets the pratipadika sanya by the same sutra which we had before, krit tadhita samasascha. I think it's 1246, which you already mentioned way back. Krit tadhita is krudantanam pratipadika sanya, samasana with pratipadika sanya, because krit tadhita samasascha, not only krudantas, but also tadhitas, tadhitanta, and samasas. So same 1246 you will use here to get the pratipadika sanya by 1 through 46. Maybe I'll just copy it from up there. So to get the pratipadika sanya by the same 1 to 46, and then we can say supo dhatu pratipadika yoho. See, all these sanyas have immediate application. We don't need to mess with sanyas if there's no application. So only because they have application we are using that. So it says samasana. So it says even samasas also get the pratipadika sanya. Samasana api pratipadika sanya. Okay. So now we apply this to use supo dhatu pratipadika yoho luk syat. So luk prakaranam comes at the end of 2.4. So this is now very easy to look up a sutram in the Ashtadhyayi order. Because this luk prakaranam comes in the, see this luk from this 2458, anurvritti of luk starts from here. So that goes to the end of 2.4. So if you are looking for a luk, excuse the pun, if you're looking for a luk, you have to look in 2458, not all of them, but many of them come in this end of 2.4. So we can, this what we want is 2471. If you have a subpratyaya inside a dhatu or inside a pratipadikam, then that takes a luk. Means it is pratyayasya luk shlulupaha. It's completely removed, and the entire pratyaya is gone. You don't do alontyasya. When you do the luk shlu or lup, the entire pratyaya is gone. Pratyayasya luk shlu lupaha. Because normally when you have to do a lopaha, you have to only remove the ending letter as a default. But here, when you do luk, shlu, or lup, the specific sutra says pratyayasya luk shlu lupaha 1161. So we can use this 2471. So what we're going to do now is that we're going to make this, again, we'll do only one form in detail. The other ones we will do, we'll skip these steps. So mala plus kru. I should do a copy paste, I guess. Okay, and the and. We use the 2471, and then also use the, I think, 1161, right? The pratyas luk shlu lupaha. So the entire nyas pratyaya is gone. So pratyasya luk shlu lupaha. And finally the pratyaya an is going to do the vriddhi of the ending vowel because of achol nyati. So 1161 is one. Yeah, okay. So achol nyati. So 72115. What does that say? The pratyaya, if it has the cha varga panchama or the ta varga panchama as a it, then you have to do the vriddhi of the ending ach. So 72115 achol nyati, and we're going to get the vriddhi and uran raparaha. So we're going to get the mala plus kar plus an. So, and that will complete that form for us. So you're going to get mala plus uran raparaha. So achol niti, vriddhiradaich, uran rapaha. These are not simple operations. I'm not putting all the steps. I think most of you know. Vriddhi of ru will become a, and uran raparaha will bring in the car. So I'll only put this main number 72115 and get mala kara. Of course, in the and the ending is a bit by halantyam. So again, the a will be gone. We get the final form by, I won't put the numbers for that because it's been repeated many times now. So mala karaha. So you get very important, you get sutra karaha, bhashya karaha. So all these, you get all these ahankaraha. How about that? Ahankaraha. So very, very common usage. So we start with 2219. We got this sutra to make a samasa. Then we came to 321, and we were told that when the karma upapada is there, we can use the pratyaya and after any dhatu as a default. So then we created this alaukika vigraha, mala, nyas plus kru plus an, because 2365 required the shashti to be there. Laukika vigraha only malam karoti. We noted the point that this tingantam is there in the vigraha vakyam, means you look for upapada samasas. And then we removed the su end by this sup ending by the supo dhatu pradipika yoho, and we use the pratyasya luk shlu lupaha to do the entire look, not only the last letter. And then finally we did the vriddhi, make it by achol nyati, and we got the mala karaha. So hopefully when you're getting slowly a flavor of this ashtadhyayi, how it is applied, it'll take you about a few months or a year to just get used to this routine. After it will become more easy for you. So next one, we won't put all the steps. Sutram dharati. Sutram dhatu dhru. So you can make it sutra dharaha. Just follow the same steps. Nothing new. So you have sutra plus nyas plus dhru, short dhru plus an, and go through the same steps. You'll get sutra dharaha. So next example, I won't put any steps because the same steps. So sutra dharaha. Just put the final answer over here. And this also is an adjective, by the way. This is also an adjective. So these can also go in feminine, masculine, neuter. So you have to then look for different ways to. Now, what anybody in the class can tell me? What is the feminine form of mala karaha? Will it be malakara? Anybody in the class can tell me what will be the feminine form of malakara? It will be like, so, of course, malakara is like Ramavat Shabda. If you go neutral, it will be like Vanavat Shabda, malakaram. What about the feminine? What do you do in the feminine? Kartik has a, okay. Indu has a question. Okay, let's take Kartik first. Okay. Yes, Kartik. Kartik, yes.
Is it Malakari?
Malakari, but then my question to you is correct. Malakari. Balahanikaram. So now it become now. My question for you, Kartik, is that we normally have this sutram ajadyata shtab. It's an unfair question because I know we have not done this in this class. But we have this sutram ajadyata shtab. So anything ending in short a, we take the ta pratyaya as a default. It should become malakara. But Kartik is right. So there must be something here in 4.1. This triyam adhikara goes from 413 to about 4180-ish. And there must be something which is stopping 414. I think Indu might have it for us. Yes, Indu.
Ugitascha? Ugitascha?
Ugit we don't have it because where is the Ugit? We had only the pratyaya an coming.
Has it got anything to do with this Karna Purvat? Kritat, Karna Purvat, 4150?
No, the one that we want is 4115.
Potitane.
I knew Indu might have it. That specifically say the pratyaya and when it is used. Do not use the ajata stop, use the pratyaya neep. So 4115 specifically mentions the pratyaya and tells us that do not use the pratyaya, the top, but use the neep. So that's why in the feminine by 4150 is a very important sutram. 4115. So let me put it right here below that. So in the feminine, we will have to. We're not asking for homework, but just to give you information. We will have to make it this ma, la, ka, ra plus the neep. Neep means only when we lose halantyam, upadesh ajana nasika it, and we're going to get the long e only. We remove the it letters, get the long e. What's the next step, anybody? Why not adgunaha? Anybody in the class can tell me why not apply adgunaha? Because I can say a plus e should be a. What stops that? Anybody? Satya should know this, I think. Satya
Does
in
it
the
get
class
bhasanya?
today? Yes,
Lopa?
vein is coming through. Yes, it gets a bhasanya.
Okay.
Because of this Swadishwa Suranama Sthane Yachibham. So what we have is that this Anga will get a bhasanya by 1418. Yachibham. 1418. Yachibham. So if you have any of these pratyas, Swadishu, Suadishu. The Suadis start from 412, but they go to all the way to the end of 5th Adhyaya. They include all the Tadita Pratyas. They include all the 3 Pratyas also are Swadi. So Swadishu, Asarvanama Sthane. Sarvanama Sthana we don't have here. They only come in those first few in the Suadi. And that will give the Padasanya for the Anga. But Yachibham. So Yachibham 1418 is telling us that if you have one of the Swadi Pratyaya falling, which Neep is one of them, and if they're beginning with a Yakara or the Ach letter, which we have an Ajadi, which we have the E right now. So Yachibham. Then the Anga gets the Bhasanya. And once you get the Bhasanya, you have to run a new routine. These are all like computer routines, So the moment you get a Bhasanya, this routine. Yes, teacher. Yes, I think Wayne got the answer. But you have to go to the Bhasya Adhikara. So this Ashtadhi is like a computer program. So the moment you get a Bhasanya, it generates a flag. And that flag trips this routine. The routine is from 64129 to end of 64 is the Bhasya Adhikara. So Bhasambandhi Karyam is at the end of Chaturthasya Adhyayasya Chaturthasya Padasya Charama Bhage, Anta Bhage. So from 64129 to end of 64. So Apada Samaptehe. So up to the end of the pada is Bhasya Adhikara. And so you have to immediately trip his routine. And then within that 64148 says Yasya Ticha. So what that means is that if you have a Anga ending in Avarna or Ivarna, so Avarnantasya, Ivarnantasya Angasya Lopasyat, Ikare, Tadhite Chapare. So we have the Ikara, we have the Akar Avarnantanga. So this Alontyasya will get the Lopa of this Akara. So by 64148, you're going to get the Mala Kar plus Ni become. So then we're going to have to just make it, then just join, we get Mala Kari. So yes, that's the Prakriya. So in the feminine, these are adjectives. So we will have to, they can go in all 3 genders. And because of this 64148, I should put it down here. put this down here maybe. We get this form, and so then you just join become malakari. Okay, so that's that. Let's look at the next example now. And we have, he says, okay, so sutradhari, sutradharaha, sutradharam, same steps. Now tantram vayati. Let's look at this one for a second now. If you follow those same, let's look at those same steps. Let's make the vigraha vakyam here. So tantram vayati, dhatu is way. Way is to weave. Same as in English, dhatu way means to weave. So tantram vayati is one who is a weaver. Tantram has many meanings. Tantram is like a string. So one who weaves these, the cloth, these, what do you call them, the threads. So weaver of the threads. So if you make the Alaukika Vigraha here, we'll have Tantra. Okay, let's make that. Because here we're going to have an exception to the Karmanyan. We would have to invoke an exception to Karmanyan. So now, when we have the Dhatu way and and, so we can keep the 2365 here. Now, can anybody tell me what's the first thing that happens to way? What happens to way? What is the first operation that way has to go through? Before doing anything else with way, it has to take one operation. Which one is that?
Vriddhi, right?
Even before that.
Oh, even before.
Vriddhi only is again, Ikoguna Vriddhi, be careful, Ikoguna Vriddhi.
Oh,
So that also does not apply. So, actually, no, I'm sorry, Achoniti, that will fine, you're right. Achoniti is Achaha. So 72115 says Achaha. So Panish says any Ach will take Vriddhi. Correct, that would have come, but then it will give the wrong form. Tantra. It might give the right form also, we don't know, but what else comes here?
Oh, the other one.
I think many of you
the
know
vav
this.
becoming wu.
No.
No.
Okay. What happens to a dhatu ending in a, o, I,
becomes
au? Becomes a. Yes. So any dhatu ending in a, o, I, or au immediately becomes an akaranta dhatu if the pratyaya which is going to come is not the talavya sh as an it. So, adecha upadesha shiti. So, remember this important rule is 6145. I know we're getting a lot of rules, but these will become, we'll repeat this many times, so hopefully you will not be overwhelmed. So, take the one that you can understand now. We will refer back to these again. So, but anyway, we need these rules to get the form. There's no way to avoid these rules. We have to use these rules to get the right form. So, adecha upadesha shiti. So, ad echaha. So, ejantasya dhatoho. Ad adesha bhavati. It has to be echaha upadeshe. It should be in the dhatu partha itself as ejanta, not through some guna or some operation like that. When we make the form bhavishyati, bhu becomes bho, it is ejanta, but that's not in the upadeshe. Upadeshe means in dhatu partha. Shuddha dhatu. Shuddha dhatu should be ejanta. We have the dhatu way is in the dhatu partha, it is way. It's not like it was V and became way. So upadeshe, but ashiti. Pratyaya following should not be talavya shas in it. So again, what are the conditions? The dhatu should be ejanta in the dhatu partha. There should be a pratyaya coming which is not talavya shas in it. And then we can use 6145, and as Vain correctly said, that will now make this into va. So these dhatu which are ending in a, I, o, au, really they are like duplicate forms they have. They immediately become akaranta. Pratyaya following is not talavya shas in it. So 61. So please remember 6145. Anytime you have a dhatu ending in h, a, o, I, au, always check 6145. Is that going to stay as ejanta or going to become adanta? So in this case, become adanta. Now we have a bit of a problem. The problem is that below this karmani and, there is an apavada for that. And I think Kalpesh ji gave me the answer last time. The apavada for that is that atascho upasarge, ato upasarge kaha, I think, I'm sorry. Then Ashtadhyaya, the two sutras which sound the same. There are two sutras called atascho upasarge, and here ato upasarge kaha. If you just go back a little bit on the same page, you might see it. See this one, atascho upasarge, it comes in 311. It's very confusing because this one comes in two places. In the same chapter, we have these three sutras. Atascho upasarge coming twice, the same sutram. And then you have ato upasarge kaha. So very confusing to go. This is very nasty, this thing which Panini does, He put his sutras exactly sound the same, or exactly the same. So you remember this, some sutras in Ashtadhyaya repeated in Ashtadhyaya. Some sutras are repeated verbatim in the Ashtadhyaya in two or more places. And they completely different meanings, completely different. And they have some which sound almost the same. And they also mess you up a little bit. So you should watch out for this one. But anyway, the one that we want right now is below our karmani and is apavada ato upasarge kaha. So if you have the dhatu ending in long a, with no upasarga, then ka pratyaya has to be used. It will stop the pratyaya and. So we have to deal with this 323. So now 323 is, comes for application. 323 comes for application. And now we need to find something to start. The 322 will stop that. So 322 puts back the and, allows the and again, and pratyaya. So this is what two steps we have to go through here. Of course, if you didn't know 323, then you don't have to worry about this. But if you look at 323, you're wondering why it not apply here. And this 322 specifically mentions three dhatus here. The way, I think dhatu ma, I think these three dhatus. Let's go to our Ashtadhyaya. We didn't use it today. It's almost the end of the class, but let's use at least one time. Let's look at the 322, and specifically mentions these the Ashtadhyaya. You look at in 322, it mentions these three dhatus, which are actually ending in a. Actually, two of them are ending in a because the a becomes a by 6145. Then 323 becomes applicable. That would have stopped the and would have brought in the ka pratyaya, which will not give the right form. So we want to put back the and 322 does that for us. So let's look at it for a second. I hope you're using this document. It's a very good document. You can look at all the vrittis nicely. Padacheda is done for you. So it says the okay, weighing spardhayam shabde cha. This dhatu ve becomes, says, so vayati means to avvanam, means to invite somebody, avvanam, right, when you challenge somebody. Then weighing, tantu santane, weaving. And mang mane, these three dhatus, iti ete bhyascha, karmani upapade, an pratyaya bhavati. And see what he says next, ka pratyasya apavadaha. Why do we need this sutram? Because prior sutram says karmani an. So sarvebhya dhatubhya an bhavati iti chet. Asya sutrasya prayojanam kutra asti. What is the use of this sutram? It is to stop the pratyaya ka which is coming after. So ka pratyasya apavadaha. So finally, thank God, we got back the an pratyaya. So 322 for those three specific dhatus, the way, and the ma dhatu. It puts back the an pratyaya. So then we
these
can.
322 and 323 should have been reversed in really, right?
But what is happening is the anuvrutti of an needs to be used when. If you reverse them, then you will lose anuvrutti of an then. See, anuvrutti of an is coming down.
Oh, I see.
This is
So
one thing about
322
Panini
uses an.
Ashtadhyaya,
Yeah.
One thing is very, in a way it's interesting, in a way it's a little bit discouraging, is that Ashtadhyaya has been scrutinized for the last 2,500 years.
Yeah.
It's very hard. It's extremely hard to find a so-called mistake in Ashtadhyaya. You can find some very small things. For the last many thousands of years, Many great scholars have looked at this. So it's extremely hard to find like a silly mistake, you know. There are some issues, but not like any glaring errors. That makes it so much fun also, you know.
Yeah.
This science has been tested for so many thousand years, whatever, hundreds of years.
Yeah.
So it makes it so much fun to play with it. Okay, so let's do, so our un remains, and then now we need one more sutra which puts the yuk agama. So we do the angas. I know time is almost up. So let's go to the ato yuk chin krutoho. We point out to one more thing in the Ashtadhyayi. It's anuvritti of this niti from acho niti from 72115. It goes into 7.3 also. If you're looking at some operations which are to be done, the pratyaya following is either the cha varga or ta varga panchama, this acho niti. Then you can look at this section from 72115. It all goes all the way like 7330 something. And there we find a sutram ato yuk chin krutoho. So 7333 ato yuk chin krutoho. So we had to use 73 to get the yuk agama. So the if you have a akaranta anga and pratyaya following either chin, which we don't have, or krut pratyaya, which has this na or nya as an it, then you get the yuk agama to the anga. So adyantau takitau, the yuk comes at the end. So you use 727333 to make it into. Let me copy this down here. So you have to make it 7333. And you add the, so this, you know, this nyas is going to go away by the supo dhatu padvitki, which we done before, nothing new. You bring this ya in here by the 7333, and that will complete the form. Tantravayaha. So you have to use the adyantau takitau, which we saw last time. This ka as an it puts at the end of this anga, vaya, tantra vaya. So this form, the two things which we saw was, first of all, we had to convert ve into va because of adech upadesha shiti. We know the pratyaya following is not talavya sh as an it. This is the ajanta dhatu in upadeshe. So we have to make it va, and that creates a problem because then 323 comes. It says ato nupasarge kaha, that would have blocked the an pratyaya. But 322 specifically mentions the dhatu ve and says for the dhatu ve and two other dhatus you have to use the an only, not the ka. And then finally we did the, so this all is happening in the third adhyaya, putting the blocks together. This is how the way the Ashtadhyayi functions. It's in third adhyaya, fourth adhyaya, fifth adhyaya. You just put all the blocks in place. Then interaction between the blocks, the interaction between them and the sandhi, they all come later in the 6, 7, 8. So once we have this block in place, then we look at the angasya adhikara and we find this sutram ato yuk chin krutoho. We have a adanta anga here, and we do have the pratyaya which has this na as an it. So put the yuk agama and we get tantra vayaha. So I know time is up. So what we'll do is going a little bit slow. So, but I'm taking more details. If you're going in the old class, we've done this in like maybe less than half the class. But I don't want to do that because then we might lose some people, and might be useful for more people. Maybe as we go after a few months, we will speed up because the simple sutra we won't mention after a few months. There'll be hopefully you will have them, or you can listen to recordings. So we'll continue with the homework next time. I'll stay back for questions as usual. So if you can do the homework on the next page for next time, try to do as much as you can. And then we'll also look at the next lesson. Probably we'll finish the homework next time and come to the lesson the first. So try to do these as much as you can. If you can, look at them, okay? So I'll stay back for questions. Ramo Rajamanis Sada Vijayate Ramam Ramesham Bhaje Ramena Vijata Nishachara Chamu Ramaya Tasmai Namaha Raman Nasti Parayanam Parataram Ramasya Dasosmyaham Rame Chittale Sada Bhautame Bho Rama Mamuddhara Rama Rame 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 Manorame Sahasranama Tattulyam Ramanama Varanane Shri Ramanama Varanana Om Namaste. I just looked at the chat window and I think